Check the description for the following discount codes. Today we're going to be taking a long, hard look at our shafts and deciding, do we really need all that length? This is my original Fanatec shifter shaft and the knob I use as well. I've been sent over from a chap called Kevin a shorter shaft to give us a shorter throw, or in the loose terms, a short shift. Technically we're not changing the point of leverage, the fulcrum, but we are shortening our throw by reducing the length of our shaft quite substantially. Not something as a man I ever thought I would say, but today I'm going to experiment with this and see whether I prefer a shorter shaft or the original longer shaft, and see just how it feels, you know, whether I get a snappier gear change, whether it actually makes a difference to my enjoyment in the sim. Now, Kevin said these are made from 7075 grade aluminium, also found in the aerospace industry, and to look at, you know, it literally mirrors the same thread on the bottom and the same, actually these are the top, and the same sort of step down there with a thread inside, and even the shape as it tapers outwards here and here is the same as well. The only difference is on the Fanatec shaft you've got this hole here that you will put your Allen key through to undo it, and I'll tell you a top tip in a minute about that. On Kevin's one, that's at the top, and that's actually quite useful because I managed to scrape some paint off the top of my Fanatec shifter whilst undoing this. Because this is the bottom and goes in, when I put that in there and I rotated it round to undo it, is the paint still on the Allen key? No, it's not, it's come off. So as this rotated, the top of the Fanatec shifter tapers upwards, and as I came round, one of the sort of sharp edges of this Allen key actually took off like some of the paint and a little bit where third gear is marked, which is a little bit annoying. So a bit of a tip, should you be doing this, is, or that would be 1, 2, 3, yeah, third gear, put it into fourth and then undo it. If you have it in fourth, your Allen key pretty much spins parallel with the taper of the top of the shifter, and you shouldn't wear any of your paint away. So yeah, just a little tip there. Another weird thing, excuse me, my shaft is actually bent. From this angle, it's bent to the right. Now I don't know, and then this way obviously to the left. I don't know whether that's supposed to be bent or whether I've somehow bent it, or even the previous owner, because I got this second hand a few years ago. Obviously, Kevin's shaft has arrived totally straight and totally true, whereas mine just has that little bend as you get toward the end, in fact. So yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be like that or whether I've somehow bent it, but yeah, that's how it is. Also, where these shafts taper outwards slightly, as we come down here, they taper out there. This original Fanatec one is not machined evenly at all. It kind of goes up and down and round as you won't, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on camera or not, probably not, but where the taper finishes and it returns back to the full width or girth of the shaft, it's very uneven and wavy, whereas Kevin's shaft is not only straight and true, where the taper joins the full width of the shaft here, it's perfectly machined all the way round. So whilst Kevin's shaft is a little shorter and you might say stubbier than my own, it's definitely straighter and truer and with a more accurate shape to it, and of course without that little twist at the end. Anyway, enough waffle about my shaft and Kevin's shaft and our differing lengths and shapes and sizes. Let's go and install this on my Fanatec shifter and have a little play with our new shaft and my knob. So Kevin Shaft, Cole's knob. Yeah, video's taking a weird direction. Let's get over there. Yeah, so obviously I've already removed my original shaft from the shifter here, and what you're left with is just like a hole in the top, and there's actually this spring that's in there as well, so make sure you don't lose that. And yes, unfortunately, when I was undoing mine, like I said, with this Allen key, I don't know how much you'll see here, but I scraped the very top there where third gear is, and I've taken the paint off, which is going to annoy me because I'm one of these people that likes things to be as good as new if I can, even when they're used. So when you do this, put it into fourth. As I say, that will keep it parallel with the slope of the shifter there, and you'll be able to undo it without taking your paint off. Still pay attention though, make sure you don't accidentally catch it. So what we're going to do, oh, and before you remove your original shaft, make sure you firmly grip your knob, whether it's this short bulbous looking knob or the longer, more cylindrical knob that comes with these shifters. Make sure you grip it firmly and undo that first before removing the shaft. Because if you try and remove the shaft and then the knob from your shaft, you'll find that your knob doesn't want to come away from your shaft because it's on there quite firmly, or at least mine was. So yeah, knob first, then shaft, and now we'll do the reverse. I'll place the new straighter and truer shaft back in place, do that up with the Allen key, and then I will reaffix my knob. Now, I don't know whether I have mentioned the price or not already, but they're about 25 quid, these short shift shafts. Not super expensive, but also not dirt cheap. It's up to you, obviously, whether you think that's a good price or not, but for good quality aluminium, for a machine shop's time and engineer's time to actually, you know, take a blank rod, so to speak, and machine it, cut a thread in each, drill and tap one end, cut a thread in one end, drill a hole through the middle, add the taper, you know, it's probably almost going to be an hour's work, to be honest. I don't know, maybe you could do it in half an hour if your machines are already set up for it. But either way, you know, when I take stuff to my local machinist, they charge £40 an hour. So, you know, even if this took half an hour at a machine shop and they charge 20 quid, you've still got to pay for the materials and the shipping. So I actually don't quite know how Kevin's getting these so cheap, because I couldn't have them made that cheaply, you know, unless they're being done some other way that's super fast. But we know the aluminium's good quality, so who knows? Anyway, Kevin's shaft is on. My knob is now firmly affixed to the end of Kevin's shaft, and let's just have a little feel. So this is really interesting, right? When I first thought about this, when he contacted me, I thought, the throw isn't that long. Do I really need a shorter shaft, you know, to reduce that throw? But now it's on there, and I'm trying it. It actually feels quite good. The only thing I will say, of course, is these shafts are not the same colour as the original ones. And that does bother me a touch, again, because I like things to look almost factory, you know. But that's just my own personal stupidity. And you only see it when you look at it, but there's no reason not to be happy with brushed aluminium, is there? Right. Shaft and knob installed. This is genuinely the first time I've tried it. So we're in Dirt Rally. Got my -273 gloves on that I recently reviewed. Let's just go for a little spin, see how this shorter shaft does.
3, 2, 1, 6 right, 100, 3 left, 150, 2 left, extra.
It does instantly feel way shorter.
Into 3 right, double cut. Up into a crest. Into 5 right long.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Big difference. I mean, let's just do some unnecessary gear change into.
4 left.
It's just so much quicker. It's weird. I honestly didn't think
2 right. Double cut.
that I would really notice that much of a difference. Not that I wouldn't notice that much of a difference, but that I didn't think I'd appreciate the difference. As in, like, actually this is a lot better and I don't really want to go back to having the longer throw. But to be honest, so far, I think I'm probably going to leave it installed and not go back to that longer shaft. Because there's not any drawbacks to having to move the shaft, you know, not as far to get into the next gear. Yeah, works perfectly. I thought there might even be like a, you know, an adaptation period where it takes me a little while to get used to not having to move it as far. But to be honest, it kind of feels right at home. Like, you know, and it was a lot shorter. The throw is definitely, maybe you'll see it. Yeah, you can see it in the background there. Look how far we have to go. It's really not very far at all. And of course it alters the throw left to right as well, not just forwards and backwards, because if I was to put a shaft on that was a metre long, we'd be going left, that's right, right to left, forwards and backwards. So it kind of reminds me of my old BMW Z4 sort of throw, because that was really short, or maybe like a Mark 1 MX5, again very short throw on those. So yeah, I think that's going to end up staying there, even though I prefer the original colour of my shaft to Kevin's shaft. I think I'm actually going to keep Kevin's shaft on here as long as he doesn't want it back, because it feels that bit nicer to use. What's interesting is I thought I might have to raise the shifter up a little bit because I've now shortened the shaft, but you know, it hasn't actually. It feels my arm's still at a nice level. You can see it there. My arm looks nice and level. Must have just been up here before, so either way it was comfortable in both positions, so I'm not even going to have to adjust the height of my shifter. So there we go. That is my review of Kevin's short shaft, his short shift kit for the Fanatec shifter. It's definitely a thumbs up from me. Should you want one, there will be a link in the description. He does ship internationally, I believe, but you'll be able to see that in the listing itself. But I'm sure he does, because it's only a case of throwing it in an envelope. And yeah, 25 notes to grab yourself one. If you want a shorter shaft and a shorter, quicker shift, Kevin's shaft is the one to get. As always, thank you very much for watching, and take it easy.